Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today. For this one we are going to have a look at yet another Japanese sake, and this is one that I'm very curious about. We're going to return to Kyoto Prefecture once again. We're going to go to Kyoto City to be specific, and we're having a taste of my first sake from Matsui Shuzo, and these guys are a very well respected brewery actually. The sake itself is called Karakuchi Honjozo. It comes in at 15% alcohol and it is with 65% or rice grains mills down to 65% original size, I should say. So as I've told you before, a Honjozo sake is when they add a little bit of distilled alcohol, so quite often this particular style is a little bit drier than the other ones that you're going to find, and of course the kind of opposite of this, if you like, is Junmai, which means that it's pure rice sake. Honjozo they are pure rice, apart from the fact basically that they add a little bit of alcohol onto them, but that's the definition of a Honjozo style, a little bit of distilled alcohol added into it. I've not reviewed one of these for a little while on the channel, and that was the main reason I picked this one out of the range. So yeah, very curious to see how this one turns out. As I've told you on the reviews before, I'm by no means an expert when it comes to Japanese sake. I just enjoy doing these as something a little bit different, and I hope that you guys enjoy them as well. It's always cool to try new sakes from different breweries. So yeah, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the sake. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that I'll do from Matsui Shuzo. I do have one more other sakes to review for you at some point quite soon. There's all the usual social media down there as well. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel, of course, has a geography-based tagging system, so you can go into the homepage and search for beers, whiskies and sakes based on country, city, state, county, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists on the channel as well. There's ones for the beers that I've reviewed for you from different countries. There's one there for the sake as well, and there's also another list for the whiskies that I've done for you. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers, breweries, whiskies and sakes and things like that that you guys would like me to check out. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Matsui Shuzo then, on to my brewery notes. So Matsui Shuzo, as I mentioned to you earlier, are based in Kyoto, and they're in the Rakuchu area, which is kind of in the north to northeast-ish part of the city. But the brewery was founded back in 1726, and this makes it the oldest sake brewery that you're still going to find in central Kyoto. But the brewery founder was known as Matsuji, and he started brewing in Kusumi in Hyogo Prefecture before moving to Kyoto in the 1920s. So apparently their sake was taken on ships up to Hokkaido as well, and they used to basically trade the sake for like fish and things like that. The fish from Hokkaido is very well known and revered in Japan, of course. But this company was then reorganised in 1956 into its current form. Quite a lot of sake breweries went through this change, and then they implemented many modernisations over the following years. They're actually powered by solar power these days, so there's a lot of modern technology actually goes in with this brewery as well. But it's basically passed down the generations of the Matsui family, and the current president of the company is Yatsuhako Matsui, and I believe he must be about, he's probably about the 12th, 13th generation, something like this. But this is quite a common story with a lot of the older Japanese sake breweries. Quite often they do pass down the family line, much in the same way that a number of the German beer breweries have done. But the parent company is called Kyono Setsugeka, so that's what the kanjis on the side of the thing here say. So usually, as I've told you before, a lot of the companies have a specific name in Japan, then the brewery has a specific name, in this case Matsui Shuzo, and then the sake will have a specific name. They usually have a brand name of different sakes as well, so it's a bit difficult to keep track of all the things that are going on in Japan with these companies. But the brewery apparently takes its water from the local Kamogawa River, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. But they use locally grown rice in their sakes as well, and they've got 5 different sake brands. So number 1 is the Shinzo Kagura, which is brewed to pay tribute to the gods. Number 2 is the Kyo Chitose. Chitose apparently means like 1,000 years, and it also kind of in some way means like long life. So this is brewed to wish like long life and peace to the cultural heritage of Kyoto apparently. And they've also got the Fuji Chitose, which again is about long life, but these ones are in particular are brewed to sort of wish a safe voyage to the Mount Fuji peak. Apparently, there's the Kinpyo, which is the ones that have the golden flakes in them, and they've also got the Gyeonbashi, which is one that's brewed specifically for the summer festival in Kyoto, which is quite a famous festival. There's 3 big festivals in Kyoto. But yeah, that's all I'm really able to tell you about Matsui Shuzo for the moment. This particular sake is a little bit different, and that was the main reason why I bought it, but we'll tell you about that in a little bit. But if you want to know more about this brewery, you can check out the brewery website in the description below. I think they do have a Facebook page actually, and I think they've got an Instagram as well. So I'll try and remember to put those in the video description for you below, but you can follow them on there, and you know, you can always check out websites like Urban Sake and Sake 101 and things like that if you want to learn more about this brewery and you know, different styles of sake and things like that. But yeah, definitely cool to review another sake for you from Kyoto Prefecture, and cool to find an old brewery in the centre of town too. I actually bought this particular sake, or my mum bought this one for me at Kinkakuji, which was really cool to go and visit again. So yeah, that's all you need to know about these guys, and let's get on and actually have a taste of this particular sake then. So as I mentioned to you at the start of the video, this one is a 15% Honjozo, which tells you that it's got a little bit of distilled alcohol added into it. That's the definition of the Honjozo style, and it has 65% milled rice grains. So the rice grains are milled down to 65% of the original size. So you can't really class this one as a ginjo or a dai ginjo. Ginjo is when they're milled down to 60%, of course, and dai ginjo is when it's down to 50%. And usually the dai ginjos are the very, very expensive ones, but they are really pretty nice actually. So yeah, to tell you about this specific sake then, the Karakuchi Honjozo. So apparently this one is made to pay tribute to the local river, and they use its water in the sake as well, but it's also intended to kind of raise awareness about keeping the river clean. So part of the profits that they make from this particular sake are you know, given to an organisation that helps clean the river as well. So kind of pretty cool actually. That seems to be a big thing in Japan. You will find a lot of references in Japanese sake breweries and stuff like that because of the Shinto religion, and I guess Buddhism to some extent as well. These religions are all about, you know, taking in wisdom, being enlightened, and, you know, respecting nature and stuff like this. So a lot of sakes and beers and things like that, you will find a lot of breweries, they talk about the local rivers and the local mountains and things like that. You know, nature is very, very significant over here in the Japanese culture, which is pretty cool actually. They're very, and that's part of the reason I think why Japan is a very environmentally conscious country as well. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this one then. I'm really curious to see how this one turns out. So the kanji that starts on the red here, this is the one that tells you the Karakuchi Honjozo, and this one here is the parent company, which once again is Kyono Setsugeka from my notes there. So as I've told you in previous sake videos then, the things that we should rate sake on according to the experts, it's floral quality, fruitiness, earthiness, sweetness, dryness, acidity, impact, and then the tail as well. So I'll be filling in my notes after I've made this video then. So yeah, we just need to make sure we talk about all of these. But as you can see, the artwork on this one, as you get with a number of Japanese sakes, is absolutely beautiful. Just look at that. So yeah, nothing on the bottle cap of this one. It's just a plain black bottle cap, and this one is 300 milliliters. So yeah, let's get this guy out then, and we'll get on with the taste. And I'm really curious to see how this one turns out. As I said to you, I've not reviewed a Honjozo sake in quite a little while, but I'll tell you something, when you open this up, you do get a nice little bit of kind of grassiness and things coming out of this one. So yeah. Oh, there we go, using Michiko's special glass that she gave me once again for this review. And I've still never figured out whether there is any significance to what colour the glass is for the sake. As I've told you, some sell them clear, some sell them in brown bottles, and some sell them in the green bottles. And usually brown protects better from light than green, and green protects better than clear, as I've told you before, or transparent. So yeah, as you can see with this one has, I've told you before, sakes always have a little bit of a tint to them. The tint on this one is very, very minimal actually. This is one of the most kind of clear sakes that I've seen, but if I had to say there was a tint, I would say that it's very, very slightly yellow and yeah, definitely very slightly yellow and kind of slightly turquoisey in some way as well. So yeah, it's kind of interesting that it's looks very, very nice and very clear actually. So yeah, nothing overly surprising about the appearance of this. As I've told you before, most sakes, apart from the nigori and things like that, are you know, pretty transparent. But yeah, as you can see, it's a lovely looking thing, absolutely pitch clear. So yeah, let's take a look at the aroma then and just see how we get on with this one then. Oh yeah, straight away you can smell a little bit of the dryness out of this, but I would say underneath it's actually, it still comes across as really quite nice and quite sweet. There's a lot of nice sweetness coming out of this sake, as I mentioned to you. It's got a lot of the Kyoto rice, from what I remember, is always very smooth, and I remember it being slightly sweeter, to be honest with you. I'm sure Michiko said that to me at one point, that the Kyoto rice is pretty well renowned for that actually. So this one, to me, it comes across as being very sweet, but you can pick up a little bit of acidity coming out of the aroma of this one. There's a nice bit of floral character in there, but I would say this one comes across in the aroma as being more kind of grassy and things like that. There's a teeny little bit of earthiness underneath, but yeah, it's the floral, grassy and acidic kind of qualities that come out of this one that really kind of stick out for me. And as I say, usually with a Honjozo, it's a little bit more kind of grassy and dry. It's usually a little bit more like that in my experience. The fruity side of this one is quite interesting as well. I mean, you've got that typical almost kind of sort of, how do you say, a little bit of like a kind of gooseberry note. There's maybe a little bit of a lychee to this one. I would have thought you might have got a little bit of apple or something out of this because it is a bit drier and it's, you know, and things like that. But of course most of the flavour in sake is down to the type of rice and things, and exactly where the rice is grown, the different minerals in the soil and in the water and things that you put in the paddy field. So yeah, to me this comes across as quite a bright, floral and citrusy sake, but the sweetness to it actually plays quite a role as well. That's interesting with this one, to be honest with you. So yeah, take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of it actually. This is quite a bright kind of floral and citrusy sake for me, but it definitely has the sweetness playing a significant role in it as well. Little touch of earthiness there underneath, but quite floral, little touch acidic and things too, and some nice sort of gooseberry notes coming out of it. Maybe a little touch of pear as well actually, but I find this one quite oily and gooseberry in terms of the fruity side of things. So yeah, let's take a taste of this one then and see how we go on. As I always say though, take a bit of time and enjoy that aroma. So this one is the Karakuchi Honjozo, brewed to kind of celebrate and raise awareness about the local river in the northern part of Kyoto. So yeah, let's get stuck into this one and see how we get on. This one, the Karakuchi Honjozo from Matsui Shuzo in Kyoto here in Japan. Let's get stuck in. Slanja, Skull, Kanpai, a 15% Honjozo. Oh yeah. I tell you something, you do pick up on the dryness with this right away, but it actually comes across as still being really smooth. I like that about this one. It's a really well crafted sake, and I mean, from a brewery that's about 200, you know, over 200 years old, it's not really surprising actually. I think this is really quite nice. It starts, the dryness that you get in this one, it really comes out more in the kind of tail end. So first off, let's talk about the impact that you get from this one. That's really nice. So yeah, when you take this one in then, it comes in and it really, you get a lot of smoothness on this one. It becomes a little bit oily, and just, you can feel the sort of oily smoothness and sweetness just spreading across the kind of middle of your palate, and that's really, really nice. And you get the more dry characteristics out of it later on. So the impact of this one, it comes in really nicely and just smoothens out for me. I think that's a good way to describe it really. So where to start with this one? And as I say, the centre of your palate is really very, very sweet. It's not as I say, the Japanese sort of version sweetness is quite a bit different. It's on a completely different scale from the European end. So this is definitely not the sweetest sake that you're going to come across. But in terms of what I remember from the other Honjozos I've had, I think this one is slightly sweeter than those. I should also say about the impact of this one, it almost feels a little bit wetter. This isn't the most oily sake that you're going to come across in terms of its mouthfeel. So it comes in wet and then it smooths out and then it starts to dry out later on. But yeah, the sort of sweetness in the centre of the palate here is really, really very nice. I like how that, how all of that goes together. Yeah, you'll feel that the middle of your palate does dry out a little bit as well, to be honest, but the sweetness does linger there in the centre of the palate. You can pick up a little bit of that sort of booziness to this one, which is nice. But at 15%, most Honjozos, from what I remember, have always been a little. Most of the ones that I've had have usually been about 16, sometimes 17%. Because I think usually the baseline for a sake tends to be around 15, and if you add a little bit of alcohol you would expect maybe 16 or so. So I think this is a slightly lower alcohol Honjozo, and I'm sure I've seen one or two that are sometimes about 14 or something like that. I'm sure I had a Honjozo from Hokkaido that might have been 14. But yeah, this is nice. Let's look at the earthiness then. In the back corners of the palate, particularly later on in the flavour, you will pick out a little bit of that earthiness there. The earthiness in this one for me is kind of mild. It's not playing too big a role, but as you come further forward along the sides of the palate, that's when you start to get the nice kind of floral notes. They come out a little bit in the beginning. They come out quite early, but then, as I say, it's when you go further into the aftertaste you can feel this sake really drying out a little bit. And you start to get those nice kind of floral notes. It makes it feel really quite fresh, to be honest, and I'm guessing that's also helped or probably even assisting the sort of slightly wetter mouthfeel that this one has. But yeah, this is nice. I wouldn't hesitate to drink this again. I'm almost just a little bit disappointed that I only got the small bottle, but I mean, it's like I said to you before, when it comes to buying these sakes, it's good to get the small bottles, because then it's good to get the small ones rather than the big ones. I'll maybe get one or two big ones to kind of take home with me and things, but I like to taste different things, and that's the main idea behind getting the small ones. Plus it's a little bit cheaper as well. But yeah, the floral quality and the sides of the palate, it really does dry out the further you go into the tail end of this sake. But as you go round the front curve of the tongue, it's just a little bit lighter and grassy. The thing that I'm noticing more and more about this, as I drink more of it, is that just in front of the sort of sweet part of the palate, you can feel a little bit of that acidity in there. And I'm finding that the acidity you get out of this one kind of plays in with the earthiness you've got in the back corners of the palate as well. I think this one for me does have a good little bit of that in the beginning, to be honest with you. There is a little bit of that acidity just behind the sort of fruity part of the palate, which is nice. Definitely a little touch of acidity there, just behind the kind of fruity front part of your palate there. So yeah, the fruity side of things then, as I always say, fruity esters in sakes, kind of like beers, I find that they come out in that, on that very kind of front tip of your palate actually. You can feel the nice oily fruity characters coming out of this one. So for me, this one, it's very kind of, it's quite straight up and quite almost gooseberry like, this one. I find that quite often the gooseberry flavour is one that comes out quite a lot in sakes. I mean, there's maybe a little touch of a pear note to this one, but that's very minimal. For me, this is a very straight up gooseberry, but on the kind of front part of your tongue, the very front edge, there's a sort of citrusy zestiness to this. It's not like lemon or anything like that, but it's quite a kind of grassy, floral zestiness there on the front of your palate. But the fruity side for me is mainly sort of gooseberry-ish, if that makes sense. It's quite nice. As I say, a little touch of pear. Not sure there's any kind of tropical note or anything like that. Sometimes you can get a little bit of a sort of, some of them I've had a couple ones that had passion fruits and a little bit of like almost mango-y type flavours and things in them, but for me this one's a very straight up sort of gooseberry type flavour. Maybe a little touch of lychee or something like that as well, but yeah, gooseberry, lychee and maybe a teeny bit of pear, but mainly gooseberry, yeah. But yeah, I would still stick with my initial premise of this one. This is definitely one of the kind of sweeter Honjozos that I've had, but the dryness really comes out into the tail of this one. So yeah, let's talk about that tail end then. So as I said, when this one comes in, it feels quite wet. You do get a little bit of the acidity out of it in the beginning, but I think it comes out more into the tail end as well, and you feel it smoothing out really nicely. But what you'll notice is you get a little bit of the earthy dryness there in the back of the palate, but that's not the most prominent thing. For me, a lot of the dryness comes from the floral side of things, and you'll get that on the front sort of corners of your palate. You're also getting a little bit of a zestiness on the front of your palate, which is also kind of assisting the sort of dry mouthfeel as well. But in the centre of your palate, you do have some of that kind of sweetness lingering as well from the rice. And when they've added the distilled alcohol to it, I think, you know, I've always found that alcohol has a very slight sort of biscuity, brown sugary flavour to it. You can get a teeny bit of that in the very, very centre of your palate as well. So yeah, overall to me, this one, it feels quite fresh, also kind of quite wet generally with the mouthfeel, and it's really nice. As I say, definitely one of the sweeter Honjozos that I've come across. But in terms of its mouthfeel, we should talk about mouthfeel before we finish up, like I say. But this one is... It's one of the sweeter Honjozos that I've come across, generally in the centre of the palate, quite dry around the edge of your tongue, but it also feels a little bit wetter than other sake styles that I've been having recently as well. But I think with quite a few Honjozos, when they've got a drier mouthfeel, they are going to feel just that little bit crisper actually. But the tail end of this one is where a lot of the dryness really comes out. So this one makes a really nice transition, sweet in the beginning and then a little bit drier towards the end actually. But yeah, a really nice sake this one, and I'm glad that I was able to review it for you. So the Karakuchi Honjozo from Matsui Shuzo in Kyoto here in Japan. Really cool to review this one for you. First time reviewing a Honjozo in a little while. So yeah, if you get the chance, check this one out, and you will see me review another Matsui Shuzo sake at some point in the fairly near future. Like I said, I bought this one at Kinkakuji, and I've got another very special one to review for you in the next couple of weeks, so you can look forward to that. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed my take on this sake. As I said, I'm by no means an expert when it comes to these. I think I appreciate them quite a lot, and I just enjoy doing them, so always nice to do something a little bit different. But thank you again for watching my reviews. As always, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this one in the comment section below. Let me know what your favourite sakes are from Matsui Shuzo as well, and hopefully you can see more beyond my next review at some point soon. I know that Kyoto has some really good sake breweries, and we need to return to those at some point in the fairly near future as well. So yeah, thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Karakuchi Honjozo from Matsui Shuzo, a 15% Honjozo with 65% milled rice grains from Kyoto City in Kyoto Prefecture here in Japan. Thank you again for watching, and I will catch you guys very soon. Slanju, Skol, Kampai, a sake brewed to celebrate the local river. Cheers.